Greater Sandton and beyond. Get ready for the SANDTON Times Hour
with your host,
Alexander.
That's right, the SANDTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM. From the heart of Sandton to your radio, to your device. Thank you for joining me. It's available, as always, as a podcast as well on Apple, Google, and Spotify. I'm Alexander Leipner, and this is edition 88, week 42, and welcome to October 2022. If you want to get in touch, you can email editor@sandtontimes.co.za. You can connect on social media at SANDTON Times, or you can visit the website, as always, at www.sandtontimes.co.za. Feel free to send your questions, your comments, your feedback, and be part of the conversation. Be part of the SANDTON Times Hour Nation, as you are if you tune in every single week. And as always, thank you to you for switching on, for listening, wherever you are in the world or in South Africa. I'm happy to report that all is well in Sandton land. If you're listening delayed, i.e. not live on Mix 93.8 FM, let me take a moment to remind you to like, share, and subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. It makes the world of difference and leaves you with a warm, fuzzy feeling and a sense of solidarity. So do that right now whilst I go through the intro, and at least you know that's ticked and it's done for today. I see people are asking on WhatsApp, is Vincenzo in the production booth? And yes, he is. He's back again. Give us a wave. All right, well, that doesn't really work very well on an audio-only show, does it? Well, some great comments coming through on the WhatsApp line last week, so keep them coming through this week. You know which number to use, and make sure you save it on your phone. Mark it Mix 93.8 FM WhatsApp number or line, and then at least you've got it on your phone. You can use it whenever you want to. Quick look at my week that was. I don't know if you've been following this. It's Restaurant Week, although it's actually a month, but it's called Restaurant Week. And it gives you access to some of the best dining spots in and around Johannesburg, also in the rest of South Africa, but if you're listening in Johannesburg, some great dining spots in Johannesburg. So picked up on one fantastic one, which was Dinner at 54 on Bath, which is the five-star hotel in Rosebank. But what made this one really unique, and I reckon it's probably one of the best options on Restaurant Week's website. I think it's restaurantweek.co.za. And I don't even know if they still have any space left, because what they do is they only host 4 people. So 2 couples or a party of 4, or you can go on your own, and then there's going to be 3 strangers sitting with you, wondering why you're here on your own. But whichever one you do, go to Restaurant Week, check this one out, Dinner at 54 on Bath, because they do a chef table. So basically they put a chef table in the middle of the kitchen, of a working kitchen, a restaurant working kitchen. You can see what happens while they prepare your meal. I mean, they give you a beautiful table, but you're in the action. You can see how food's being made. You can see the orders coming in. You can see how the chefs are communicating with each other. And the head chef who hosted us, he took us through each course. He talked us through how the restaurant works, how the hotel works. It was fabulous. And let me tell you, there was a couple that I was sitting with. They were also wonderful. I mean, you know, it's always a bit of a hit and miss. When there's 4 people at the table, you just hope the rest of the people at the table are going to be interesting, because you're going to be sitting there for a while. I mean, I think we were there for a good 3 or 4 hours. But what a great experience that was, and I can highly recommend it. Another really great experience that I want to recommend is a new movie that's coming out called Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. And thank you to my fellow digital blogger and just overall foodie and fun chap to be with, Josie Style. Go check out his website, Josie Style. He's got a blog. He hosted a movie night with Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. An excellent movie. If you don't watch any other movie this year, please go and see Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. It's heartwarming. Imagine like Pretty Woman for 2022. Totally different storyline, but like the kind of same sort of gees. And I think it's just the kind of movie we all need to see right now, where it's doom and gloom and misery, and we're all losing our mind because we don't have water, we don't have electricity. And it just makes you feel so good. And it's just such a great, fun, loving story. Take your partner, take a best friend, and go make a night of it. Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. Highly recommended. Go watch it at the movies. And then, a pre-warning to tonight's show. A bit different, because we have a comedian-packed show this hour. So from beginning to end, all you're going to hear is some of South Africa's best comedians, which brings me to coming up in this week's episode, and it's very short, They're all some of South Africa's most well-known and hard-working comedians, and they've got some great one-man shows heading to our stoop over the next few weeks. So I got them all on to chat, just like that. And that's what you can expect from the next hour. Your headlines for the week are coming up shortly, but let's get us in the mood for this week's edition with a bit of music.
You're listening to the SANTON Times Hour.
This is the SANTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM with Cash and Running Up That Hill remix featuring Stalking Gia. So if you were watching Stranger Things, you will know why the song suddenly resurrected from the 80s. I mean, it was a pretty mundane song in the 80s, I think. And it's just suddenly become a massive track thanks to Netflix and Stranger Things. And I thought that was quite a good remix. Time to take a look at your headlines for this week. All right, time for us to get through the doom and gloom for this edition. 3 questioned after German tourist murder near Kruger. Now, how crazy is this? Last week, we were talking about German reunification, Tag der Wiedervereinigung. It was a public holiday in Germany last week, Monday. And as we get out of Monday, we find out that these German tourists were attacked just outside of Kruger. And German and international news outlets are reporting on this murder of a German tourist who was traveling to the Kruger National Park last week together with his wife and another couple. The 67-year-old German national was shot and killed on Numbi Road near the Numbi Gate of the Kruger National Park in Mpumalanga. And police in the province have identified and taken in 3 people for questioning regarding the murder of the German tourist. The trio who are in police custody are said to be cooperating with investigators. And it's a developing story. I mean, I think they've literally thrown every department, every ministry, every person behind this story because let's be honest, it's not just about the murder of a tourist, which is already a bad thing. I mean, when you have a guest in your house and something happens to them, that is just disaster bar none. But it's also about just murder in South Africa and crime in South Africa. And let's just be honest, it isn't where it should be in terms of being managed properly, in terms of being dealt with. And it's about consequences. Consequences, accountability, and realizing that if you're going to do something like this, they're going to throw the book at you. And you're going to have to deal with the consequences. And let this be a catalyst, not just for international visitors, and we want international visitors to come to South Africa and feel comfortable and feel safe, but let this also spill over to everyday citizens like you and me, knowing that whatever happens, there is a consequence for those actions. Then load shedding and water supply hangs in the balance. I mean, Eskom announced it would be ceasing load shedding over the weekend, but I'm not holding my breath. Please, we all know that we're going to take a breather right now. Life's going to go back to normal for a couple of days, a couple of weeks. And, I mean, we just know that something's lurking around the corner again. We're just waiting for that alert to pop up on our phone again. But let's enjoy it while it lasts. In the meantime, water supplies have also been under strain. And we seriously need some rain as well at the moment. I've actually gone to the length of actually installing a JoJo tank now in my backyard. Doesn't supply the house, but it might sort out the garden, which is basically burnt to a crisp. I'm going to be following up that installation with a bit of a story as well and do a bit of a thing on it because it's very interesting. It's not just about getting a tank. I know we had a gardening specialist on a couple of weeks ago talking about don't just get the tank, you need to get a pump as well. But now you get a pump and that needs electricity. So now how does that work? But we'll get onto it. We'll take it one step at a time. It's a step in the right direction. But what plans have you made at home? Have you gotten yourself some inverters? Have you put in a water tank? Have you got some camping solution that you've rolled out? I mean, at one point I thought maybe I should get one of those camping showers if the water cuts out again. Let me know. I'd be quite keen to hear from you. And then finally, we've got a newly elected Gauteng Premier, Panyaza Lesufi. News 24 reports Lesufi has said that there were no untouchables or holy cows that would be immune to prosecution should they engage in unlawful activities that disenfranchise the province's citizens. So strong words there by the new Premier on his appointment and talking about tackling corruption and a lot of the things that become a social ill in our province. And we're seeing the side effects of all of that on an hourly and a daily basis. Look, I'll believe it when I see it, but I don't know. It's a start. Let's leave it right there with the headlines for this week. Get ready for an hour of funny as we kick off our packed hour with none other than Jason Goliath.
Follow the SANTON Times on social media.
At SANTON Times.
Connect with the SANTON Times. Email editor@santontimes.co.za.
This is the Santon Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM and also available as a podcast on Google, Apple, Spotify, and any of the other many podcast platforms that people subscribe to wherever you are in the world. Well, kicking the hour off, I'm thrilled to be joined by our first comedian for this hour, Jason Goliath, who's bringing a one-man show to Sandton in November. It's called DALA What You Must. It is what it is. And Jason, it sounds like a phrase I heard way too often over the last couple of months. It is what it is.
It is what it is. It is what it is. Also, listen, it made me happy just to make you say it. Just because I know DALA what you must is not like a thing that's just been planted in your vocabulary. You know, to get all South Africans sharing and using it, you know, because everybody says ish, everybody says yo. I want everybody to say DALA. I want everybody to say DALA what you must. So, exciting. And it is what it is. All day.
Well, we all know it is what it is. If you had to translate DALA, how would you translate that? What would be the sort of the English version of DALA?
So I think the English word for DALA at its essence essentially would be do. And like a lot of our slang, it can be used, you know, very much like the word aware can be used as a greeting, as a threat, you know, showing love. DALA what you must is very similar. So I've heard it used many times as a threat in terms of do what you're going to do. Do what you're going to do. We're done talking now. But for me, it's always been a motivational sentence that goes, you know, do what you have to. Everybody speaks about what they want. Everybody speaks about what they need. Everybody speaks about what they don't have. And what I want everybody to understand is it's up to you. If COVID taught us anything, it's that nobody's coming to save us. Nobody's going to bed at night thinking about your debit orders because everybody's got their own stress. And essentially, you've got to get up, dream, and DALA what you must. You've got to do what you have to do.
And no greater time than right now, where we thought COVID was the worst of it. Now we're dealing with all the other flavors of South Africa, be it load shedding, water cuts. I mean, you name it. There's something for everyone.
And I think as South Africans, you know, name a time in the last 100 years when we weren't going through something. And I think that, you know, that's life. And what I think the 40s combined with a pandemic have kind of enlightened me with is that I think that the route to happiness is acceptance. And I think so many people haven't accepted their situation, haven't accepted where they are, and also haven't accepted responsibility that, you know, we all are exactly where we are. And fundamentally, at the end of the day, it's your fault. We can blame previous employers. We can blame our parents. We can blame our friends group. But those people are not there when the bank is phoning for their money. You're there on your own. So you've got to accept where you are, then dream about where you want to be, and then DALA the in-between to get you from where you are to where you want to be. And that's been the biggest life lesson for me. That's just kind of something I've always tried to live by, but that articulation has become so clear to me, particularly over the last 2 years.
So obviously a little bit of a motivational undertone to the show, but also it feels like a lot of comedy shows that are coming out now are sort of in that transition period, sort of referring back to where we were the last 2 years, but then also now going into 2023, what next?
So I think that, you know, in fairness, my show is not, I mean, I think it's difficult as a comedian to not be current. So for us to do a show and not talk about what we've been through and the lessons we've learned and the funny side of COVID, so to speak, but definitely don't think that that's what the show's intention and purpose is. I think the show's intention and purpose is to talk people through my journey, and I think that's something as a performer and entertainer that I've never really kind of pulled back the curtain and gone, okay, cool, well, like, where do I come from? What is my story? So the show starts with primary school Jason Goliath. So as soon as I was able to kind of think for myself, as soon as I started developing a personality and what those stories were. So the show starts late primary school, early high school, and then starts to develop and build with this constant theme of DALA what you must. I grew up in a household with a mom who, you know, was very, very clear. And although she had very little education, she always just had these pearls of wisdom. And that philosophy of if you want more than the person next to you, you've got to do more than the person next to you. That's the type of mom I had. You know, there was no excuses. There was no fluff, no silk gloves softening it up. You know, if you want a trophy, you've got to outrun the person that's trying to get a trophy too, because everybody wants a trophy. And if you didn't get a trophy and you didn't try your best, then best believe you're not allowed to complain about that either. So the show, I think, is finally allowing my audience and people that have engaged with my comedy or my entertainment in any way, shape or form, just a bit of backstory and understanding that of who I am, why I am, and why I think I can boil my entire essence down to DALA what you must. It is what it is.
You know, a lot of comedy comes out of the everyday stuff that happens to all of us on a daily basis, and maybe comedians are a little bit more observant, and they find the funny in just observing what everyone is going through. Have you had any of those moments lately?
Listen, I've had a lot of those moments, and I have them almost every day. I'll tell you what I've observed. The same thing, because South Africans are the same. So Eskom makes a new announcement, South Africans lose their mind as if we haven't been having load shedding for 10 years. You know what I mean? South Africans are still in the same position where we want to get upset, get frustrated, where we should have been trying to get off the grid a long time ago. South Africans also gullible, love to complain, but also believe anything if it's said with nice frills around it and maybe a news strap. So if you put a news strap underneath me now, I could say any English. I could literally say, you won't believe it, but a Tyrannosaurus Rex has just been spotted in downtown Johannesburg. As long as there was a news strap with some other tweet scrolling across the screen, South Africans would buy into that completely, because for some reason we are like, the person in an abusive relationship that just keeps going back. They complain to you this weekend, you get upset with their partner, you like, leave that bastard. And then out of nowhere, next week they're back. Now you angry with the person, and they've gone back to this foolishness because somehow they've deleted it because the person switched the lights on for 2 minutes. The guy brought one chocolate, not even a nice chocolate, a no-name brand thing, and has been forgiven. So what I've observed is, South Africans haven't changed, the government hasn't changed, and yet we're all shocked. So when Eskom announced, oh no, guys, it's not going well, everybody was surprised. Me, I'm not surprised. I was just like, I would have put money on it. I would put money on the fact that for the next 10 years, it is going to get worse and worse and worse. In fact, go and watch Enron. You know Enron. Go and watch that movie. There's a documentary movie thing about Enron in the US and this power company that pulled the greatest trick ever. They never even had a power shortage, but they told the people there was a power shortage so that they could hike the price. Then I'm just like, yeah, there's suspicious things happening here. Anyway, this is not an Eskom thing. This is a DALA what you must thing. Let's continue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that documentary was called The Smartest Guy in the Room, or The Smartest Person in the Room. Go watch it. It's brilliant. I totally agree with you. But Jason,
it is.
Your show is coming up at the Theatre on the Square at Nelson Mandela Square. It's from November 16th to November 27th. And tickets are available on web tickets from 200 Rand. And you can also book it directly at the Theatre on the Square. And are you looking forward to the show?
I can't wait for so many reasons. I mean, my last one-man show was in 2018. Menstruation was a big part of my comedy evolution, where I, for the first time dabbled in, can I make you feel as much as I want to make you laugh? Because generally the objective of comedy is just to make you laugh. And then I was like, but can I leave you with something more than just a laugh in the moment? So I don't want to be an energy drink that gives you a spike and then drops you as soon as you leave the room. How do I let you leave with something? And when I'm writing the shows, I'm thinking about the fact that, yes, the whole show might not be for everybody, but there must be at least one part for somebody that's going to leave you with more than just laughing. So if you haven't checked out Menstruation, it is still streaming on Showmax. So just go to Showmax, search Jason Goliath and Menstruation, Surviving a Wife. And I called it that on purpose, ladies. Before you complain about the title of the show, go and watch the show, and then I'm very happy to discuss any ill feelings you may have. And this show is now me, I think, doing that type of comedy without the imposter syndrome, doing that type of comedy without needing the validation of, do I even have the right to say these things? And if you want to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, have a good laugh, feel the relatability of the fact that I think we're all going through such similar things, no matter where you are, what you do. It's one of those things, I think, that just, it's going to bring everybody together and help everybody realize that at the end of the day, we're just the same. So stop looking left and right. Stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. Stop stressing about what everybody else has, and think about what you want. Start there. And then just put in as much effort as what you want needs, instead of putting in effort for everybody else's things or your perception of happiness somewhere else.
Well, all the details for Jason Goliath's show will be up on the SANDTONTIMES.co.za. Go check it out if you missed any of those details. And it's the bottom of the hour and time for a musical break.
Back for more?
The SANTON Times Hour continues.
You're listening to the SANTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM or on a podcast. And if that is the case, you would have missed Tiesto and Charlie XCX with Hot In It. Taking you into the second half of the SANTON Times Hour, my name is Alexander Leipner. And if you don't know how this works, well, if there's anything that sounded good during this show, which is pretty much everything, and you didn't manage to get all the details, the ticket prices, the venues, the places, well, be sure to visit the show notes on www.santontimes.co.za for a detailed breakdown of everything discussed on this week's edition and so much more. Also, be sure to check out the social media accounts at Santon Times and feel free to engage. You can send a tweet, a WhatsApp, a postcard to Linden PO Box somewhere, and or a voice note, or whatever works for you. And also, you can use the hashtag Santon Times Hour. I'm joined by my next comedian, an absolute favorite, Mark Banks, who will be performing once more after lockdown, which is super exciting. We haven't seen him in a while. Mark, it's good to have you on the Santon Times Hour.
Thank you very much. Thank you. This is the first time ever. I've never been on it before. This is a first.
So
I've never done this one.
This is a
And
premiere.
then you said next comedian. You said next comedian. So there have been others. There were others.
There are other comedians, Mark. This is like our comedic hour. I think we all need one.
Oh, fantastic. Wonderful.
Yeah.
And this is probably to talk about the upcoming show at the Upstairs Studio Theatre at Montecasino from this coming Friday.
That's it.
Gala.
It's called
Mark
Alive.
Banks Alive.
Yes.
Yeah. Peter Serene wouldn't give me the theatre, so I've had to hijack the theatre. I set up an offshore company in Mauritius who approached him to buy the theatre, which he has sort of tentatively agreed to. So he doesn't know I'm doing the show. So it's a bit of a surprise for him when he realizes it's me in the theatre. Because technically I own the theatre, so he doesn't have it. So we've been very sort of underhand and podcasty in putting the show on. I must warn you. So this is a first for Montecasino.
My goodness.
I know. So it's just me, thank goodness. And there's not a huge set. So if I do have to get out quickly with the audience, we can get out the back way, which is quicker than going out the front way, funny enough. It's faster exiting out of the back of Montecasino than the front. But people only know the front way. It's a one-man show, which I put together over the past 2 years that we've been locked up. And I'm doing sketches, looking at present-day life in South Africa, which is pretty horrifying at the moment, as you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, there must be plenty of material, Mark.
Oh, every day practically is a new show. Things I started writing 3 weeks ago are old hat now. You know, every hour we go to different stages of everything, different stages of water, electricity, life, driving, gunshots, murders, and we get through it. And we sort of hear gunshots going off. People say, "What is that?" And someone will say, "No, that's 45. Or that's a Magnum Parabellum." And people, no, that's a Luger. That's an old Luger, that shot.
Is that on the WhatsApp groups?
We get onto the WhatsApp group, we'll go through that, and we'll get somebody will have filmed it for Facebook. It'll be on Facebook within minutes. Things are on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram now before they happen. I don't know how that happens. It's like time traveling backwards. It's unbelievable. But you see, I'm from a generation where we didn't have that. I'm from a generation where, and I think you are too, Alex, I was looking at your picture just now, where we still had sort of things like video.
Yes, VHS.
And television. Do you remember that?
Yeah, where you had to tune the TV to get SABC1 or whatever it was.
I remember that very, very well, tuning it into the Betamax machine to watch a tape that someone has very specially brought me back from overseas to watch. And then that wasn't on PAL, that was on the American NTSC, so you couldn't see it. You could hear it, but you couldn't see it because of the lines. So you had to listen to Debbie Does Dallas, and you didn't see it. And of course, it's primarily a visual film. It's visual, like most films.
That's what the director wanted.
I'm doing a one-man show. There's no interval. The interval was sold to a Malaysian consortium. They bought it. They've taken it offshore. And funny enough, they bought it back through an Investec middle banking group. The 15 minutes of interval we got offshore, and they brought it back as an hour. But it's an interval that you can take home and use at home whenever you want.
Oh, wow.
There is no interval in the show. It's 70 minutes straight through. Rat-a-tat-tat. All new Mark Banks, A to Z. Very funny. Look at present-day life.
I mean...
There might be singing.
There might be singing?
There might be. I don't know yet.
Okay, so you might get lucky if you buy a ticket to the show, you might get a bit of a musical number as well.
Yes, there might be a little bit. They're very, very, very tastefully done. And of course, there are so many comedians now. You need, I think Robert's Birds of South Africa are going to bring out Robert's Comedians of South Africa. I think they've got just over 1,000 comedians in South Africa.
Goodness me. So,
and they're growing.
So what would that
And
be
they're growing.
defined as?
So
Is that
I'm
comedian spotting? Is that?
comedian spots. Well, when you hear them, you see them on stage, you hear them going rat-a-tat-tat and jumping up and down. You think, I wonder which one that is. So you have to sort of look it up and see who it is. And it's growing every day. It's growing every day. It's the fastest growing business in South Africa after razor wire fencing and security, 20,000 volt electronic shut mobs.
Well, like somebody said, if you went on holiday for the past week, you would have come back and had a new mayor and a new premier all in 1 week.
Yes. It was all in one day the other day. It was all in one day. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But we don't only look at politics. We look at how we're coping with it. We look at life after COVID. COVID? Is it COVID?
Yeah, I suppose it depends on where you come from.
Monkeypox. Monkeypox is the new surprise disease that we have looming. And of course, World War won't really faze us much because we have more people killed a day than any country at war anywhere in the world. Isn't that incredible? We have more people killed in South Africa than in Ukraine.
It's frightening.
And we carry on.
Yeah.
And then we sort of wonder what time does Woolworths close?
Do you find that we're very resilient as South Africans?
Very. Completely resilient. Absolutely resilient. Unfazed by anything. It's unbelievable. It really, really is.
Yeah. No, I mean it's a world leader.
It's a world leader. And there's a magnificent prize that we're giving away during the run. Anyone who comes to see the show, the tickets go into the lucky Studio Theatre Mark Banks and Turkish Airways. One lucky couple will be winning an overseas all expenses paid for trip to Istanbul, which will draw at the end of the run.
Is that so?
Last year's winners are still in Istanbul trying to win a trip back. So be warned.
Well, Mark Banks, there we have it. Your run from the 14th of October to the 20th of November. And that's on weekends. There's a whole lineup of different times and days you can watch the show. And all the details are up on the SANDTONTimes.co.za. You can get your tickets at CompuTicket, available from 130 Rand a piece. And that's Mark Banks is back with his show Alive.
Online, on air,
Anywhere, anytime.
this is the SANDTON Times Hour.
Well, we continue our conversation with South African comedians, and I'm joined by Schalk Bezuidenhout, who's got a new show coming up called Keeping Up. Schalk, good to chat to you again.
How are you?
Yeah, good, and you, Schalk?
Lekker. No complaints. Well, I have a few, but how long do we have for this? 8 to 10 minutes? No, okay. I'll keep it to myself.
Listen, I think South Africans have got plenty to complain about at the moment.
Yeah, there's a Musa hole in my street that has been there for a year, and you would think living in Craigle Park, like the community would get together and fill it with something, even if it's money. But yeah, no one wants to fix that hole.
Money's too tight to mention, I think, as
Yeah.
or was it Simply Red said?
If we just all take our bronze coins, and gooi it in that hole, I'm sure like you'd be able to drive over it.
All those 10 cents pieces I've been picking up outside the Pick and Pay lately.
All your old like 5 cents, 10 cents, gooi it in that hole, maybe melt it, and then gooi it, pour it in there, wait for it to dry, problem solved. It's like a gold tooth, like in a mouth, but in a street. It's like the street's gold tooth.
Yeah, streets paved of copper in Johannesburg. Schalk, I think last time you and I spoke was during lockdown.
I remember nothing from lockdown. Sorry, it's all a blur. No, I'm joking. No, it was it was during lockdown. I mean, it just shows that we, not even as South Africans, as humans, like it's just in our nature to never be happy and to never complain, because in lockdown we just wanted to I want to leave the house again. Now lockdown's over. Now everyone's like, I miss working remotely. Oh, the streets are a mess. Oh, everything is just like, you can't win.
Do you think that applies to all our human tragedies? Like, do you think we'll ever get to a point where Eskom can supply us with so much power and Rand Water can give us so much water that we'll be sitting there one day with all our water and all our electricity, all the light bulbs on, and we'll be sitting, you know what, like, do you remember when the lights would just go off for 3 hours, like during the day, and
yes,
we couldn't
I
cook?
do believe that. I do believe that. Like, if they solve load shedding tomorrow, everyone will be very happy. for like a year, and then people go, you know what, there's no romance anymore in my relationship, because you know what, load shedding, actually, now that I think of it, what it actually helped is like we'd light candles and we'd actually spend time together. No one would be on a screen, no one would be on their phone or laptop. And yeah, I miss that. And now that we have power all the time, our phones are charged and everyone's on their screens, and we live past each other. We live past each other. We don't connect.
You see,
We will
that's
just
it.
always find something to complain about. That is the truth.
Jeez. Well, listen, keeping up hasn't got anything to do with load shedding, does it?
I have a load shedding joke, of course. I'm a current comedian who knows what's going on in the world and in the country. So, yeah, I do have a load shedding joke, but the show is more about being, I would say, turning 30. And like, because the thing is, when I started comedy in 2011, I was like the flippin' young kid, on the block, on the comedy scene. And everyone always like, after a gig, they'd be like, how old are you? And I'd be like, I'm 19 or 20 or 21. They'd be like, wow, you're so young, eh? I was like the young current comedian. And now I'm 30, and the show is basically about like I'm trying to keep up, because I'm trying to stay current. I'm trying to keep up with what is funny, what is not funny, what is politically correct, politically not correct, relevant, not relevant. And yeah, it's getting harder and harder. So I'm like trying to keep up, because things are changing at a rapid pace. Even just in the last 10 years, 11 years of me doing comedy, things have changed so much. So I'm trying to keep up, but it is like a really, really fun show. It's a very funny show. I'm very proud of it. It's very quickly, I was saying on Instagram yesterday, it's very quickly becoming, I think, my favorite show I've done.
Sure, that's fantastic. I mean, you just did a great slot on Netflix. You've been doing some fantastic commercials lately. I mean, you really have been busy.
Yeah, no, it's been a lekker busy time. I know I was saying we'll always find something to complain about, but actually the truth is that I kind of have nothing to complain about at the moment. It's actually very lekker time. I'm glad for what lockdown did for me, in terms of like a lot of people discovering me through the videos and stuff. So in a big way, I'm very grateful for the lockdown in my life, but I'm glad it's over. I'm glad the capacities are completely lifted now. I'm glad we can just like full on move forward. Yeah.
Now, you're talking about the woke culture, whatever. What do you struggle with the most when it comes to the world in 2022?
No, it's not that I really struggle with anything, but I mean, if you don't keep up with it, you are gonna get left behind. You know what I mean? So I say it in the show as well, I'm not one of those comedians that are rebelling against woke culture. I'm not someone who's like, oh no, it's everything's too woke now and you can't say this anymore and you can't do that anymore, because it's our job as comedians to constantly adapt to the times. Times change and then we change. It is possible to adapt to the times and still stay yourself. You know what I mean? So like, I'm not rebelling against woke culture, but you have to keep up with it. I mean, you can't just not follow it and not educate yourself in, oh, okay, this is not politically correct anymore, and expect your brain to just know it. You have to, keep up.
Are you finding it ever harder to be funnier and funnier in the world that we're in right now?
No, I'm finding it easier. No, I think that's partly due to just because I think the longer I do this, the easier it just becomes to write content. I mean, obviously, like when you start out, it takes you like 6 months to really craft your first 5 minutes, and then it takes you like another year to take your 5 minutes to 15 minutes. But now, it's easier for me to write and stuff. And I think just because there is so much stuff going on and happening all the time, there's so much to talk about, there really is. And I think also just if you take society's mind space at the moment, people are desperate to laugh at things, not necessarily at other people, but with you and with what you say, because often in a lot of contexts, like social context or at work, you are being told the whole time, like, oh, don't laugh at that, or can't laugh at this anymore. So people kind of are desperate for an outlet because, you have to, in these times, put a guard in front of your mouth all the time, which for certain people is really not a bad thing, that the world has developed to that. If you sometimes see the things that come out in the news, then you think to yourself, if only that guy put a guard in front of his mouth. So yeah, people are desperate for like a bit of an outlet, and just to sit in a comedy show and go, okay, well, I don't have to say anything. This guy will do the talking and I can just laugh. And I am a responsible comedian, so I don't like putting my audience in a situation of like feeling uncomfortable and like, oh, am I allowed to laugh at this? I do toe the line sometimes, but it doesn't go, like way over.
Well, there you have it. Schalk Bezuidenhout with his new show, Keeping Up, which will be at the Theatre of Marcellus at Empress Palace in Kempton Park, 21st of October and on the 22nd of October. And you can get your tickets at Ticket Pro, so don't miss that. I'm a personal fan of Schalk's. I think his work is fantastic. And all the details will be up on the SANDTONTIMES.co.za. And with that, it's back to the music and a quick break.
Thank you, Alex. I love your professionalism, and thank you for having me on.
You're listening to the SANTON Times Hour.
The SANTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM, almost wrapping it up for another week, but our little musical interlude, Freischwimmer with California Dreaming. Well, it's our final interview for the hour before we wrap it all up, and I'm thrilled to be joined by our last comedian for this edition. And of course, it's the ever-talented Nik Rabinowitz.
Alexander.
How are you doing?
I'm doing much better.
Fantastic, Nik. Well, listen, you've got a show coming to Santon called Unmuted, Mask Free and All. Tell us a little bit more about this show.
This show was the first new show that I wrote since the pandemic. So it's been brewing, it's been germinating, it's been, I don't know what the word is for when you grow a virus in the lab, mutating. It's been in development for 3 years, and it's finally ready to come out and infect audiences. I quite like that. I should write that down. That should be the blurb.
Mal, tell me, what is Unmuted all about? What's the show contain? What's the sort of the general theme of the show?
The general theme, I think, is something about I had plenty of time on my hands, so I went down the rabbit hole, as the conspiracy theorists like to say. I red-pilled myself. I connected the dots. I did my own research. And finally, I'm ready to come out and take you down the rabbit hole into our crazy post-pandemic world. So there are all sorts of things. It's quite a personal journey, in a sense, of my own experience of lockdown and the pandemic. And all of the stuff that we've largely forgotten about it, which I like to remind people so they can have a PTSD experience and laugh at the same time.
It doesn't seem to be the funniest time in the world at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I think you have to balance things out, because it's also the easiest time in human history, the safest time for us as a species. So I think we've gone a little bit soft, and I think all these things are just testing our resilience. That's the buzzword, Alexander. How resilient are you? Are you showing grit? Are you showing emotional resilience to what's happening around you? Or are you letting it upset your equilibrium? It's really a spiritual test, if you will, that we're going through right now.
Nik, how are you coping with all these situations at the moment? Do you have sort of like a coping mechanism?
Not really. I just I sort of try and accept life as it is presenting itself in this moment. And sometimes I get upset and throw my toys, especially with my children. Children are a good spiritual test for you, Alexander. You should, one day you should, I don't want to say should, but borrow a child if you must. I don't think you have children. You sort of look like you have a sort of glow about you that suggests you don't.
I don't at the moment. No, not yet.
Yeah, you have energy, you have vitality, you have a spring in your step that tells me you're not a parent of a small child. So I tend to, I am fortunate that my business is not really affected by load shedding, although shows can be in venues that don't have backup power, and that can be frustrating. But I kind of move around. I'm like a vagabond. I'm like a load-shedding vagabond. If I must go to another suburb or visit somebody, I have a small battery in my house that allows me to deal with. The only thing we really need is Wi-Fi. That's all we need to get through any of this is our phones, to look at our screens, and then we'll be okay.
So, Nik, tell me a little bit more about your Unmuted show. Are you taking this around the country? Is it just going to be in Johannesburg?
I will take it wherever the people want it. Recently, they told me in Uppington that I should come there. In fact, they said, the mayor of Uppington told me, when you're next in Uppington, come and do your show here. And I said, I don't know when next I'll be in Uppington. But if I am, I will come and do the show there. But I don't think that's really the audience. I'm not sure that's the audience for this particular show. So for now, it's going to the metropolis areas, Alexander. And then we'll see. If there's great demand for it in Welkom, I'll take it to Welkom. If I must go to Twee Buffels met een skoot tussen die oor doodgeskiet fontein for some reason that, I don't know, maybe the reason is they mixed me up with Schalk Bezuidenhout because we actually created a love child together during lockdown that looks a lot like the both of us, and they accidentally booked me instead of Schalk, I will go.
Are you hoping to take the show overseas as well? Is this kind of sort of material that you feel will work anywhere in the world?
I think some of it will. I mean, I think Port Elizabeth changing its name to Gqeberha, that might be a little bit tricky to translate. But yeah, some of it will tour. I'm going to do some international things next year. So we'll see.
Fantastic, Nik. Well, Nik Rabinowitz, he's on at the Theatre on the Square on Nelson Mandela Square, November 1 to November 12. And you can get your tickets on CompuTickets. I see they're going from 190 Rand upwards. And get booking that. And Nik Rabinowitz, I thank you for joining us on the SANTON Times Hour.
Alexander, I thank you for introducing me to the SANTON Times Hour.
Well, with that, it's the end of another SANTON Times Hour on Mix 93.8 FM, and as always, available as a podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Don't forget you can email editor@santontimes.co.za, or you can connect on social media @SANTON Times, and don't forget to visit the website and bookmark it on your browser, www.santontimes.co.za, updated every single day. So every morning at 6 o'clock, there's a new bit of content that gets loaded up onto the website. So check in regularly and catch up on some of those stories. And feel free to send in your thoughts and your questions or comments or contributions to the show. It's always good to hear from you. And we try and work through all those emails as best possible. Thank you to all our guests who made the time to be on the show this week. And Vincenzo, as always, great job behind the mixing desk. And thank you to the SANTON Times team and as well as everyone at Mix 93.8 FM for making this happen every single week. We're closer to 90 editions, but right now, thank you for listening, and let's connect again next week.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to the SANTON Times Hour. And if you enjoyed it, be sure to share it.